Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is our WWE show for the week. Let's jump right into it. First off, with the so-so portions of the night. Basically, they're not bad, they're not good, they're just there. And I will start off with Dean Ambrose versus Luke Harper. Ends up in a schmoz. I know why they did it. I know it's building for the match at Extreme Rules, but you got two talented guys like this. Just let them wrestle. Let them show us what they could do. I think these two are as close as you're going to get to hardcore specialists or hardcore wrestlers on the WWE show going forward. I do think if they let them go at Extreme Rules, they could give us a very compelling and interesting match. I just wish they would have let them do a little something more. Hence why it's in the so-so. Next up is Naomi versus Brie Bella. We see evil Naomi come out. She lost the Uso shirt, which was part of the problem I had with her being tied with the Usos and being a heel. Also with the Usos potentially being out for a while, that problem may not exist. The one thing they got to do, though, is get rid of the Funkadactyl music. It does not fit a heel character. It doesn't fit her character. She's moved on from that. This was an okay match. I just had a feeling like, I don't know, just their chemistry didn't match up as well as it probably should have. Naomi picks up the win in pretty predictable fashion. To me, it just fell a little bit flat. Next up, we have Sheamus versus Zack Ryder. I did like what Sheamus did with the running commentary and picking on Ryder. I just don't like the fact that Sheamus is putting down wrestlers that the fans have got behind. A guy like Ryder, and I'll say this till the day I die, I have no reason why the WWE backed off on him. I do not understand why a guy that could get himself over and make himself famous and popular is a bad thing. It doesn't make sense to me, but I'm not Vince McMahon. I'm not on the writing team. We see a DQ happen. Dolph Ziggler comes out, basically continuing his feud with Sheamus. Next up, we have the Mizdow versus Miz for the right to the Miz brand. Mizdow comes out with Summer Rae. Summer Rae looking beautiful as ever. They get in a little wrestling match. Summer turns on Mizdow, allows Miz to pick up the win. Hence Mizdow going away. I feel like so much more could have been done with this. They started the feud at WrestleMania and they're going to pretty much end it before the pay-per-view. I mean, we'll see Mizdow come back in whatever incarnation he comes back in. Hopefully just Damian Sandow, because he's a damn good wrestler. But I feel this whole thing has been built a little bit poorly. I liked it at first. I liked that they were giving a little bit more each time, adding Summer Rae, all that good stuff. But they just, if this is the feud ender, it was bad. And afterwards, we see the first of many RKOs, which we'll get into why it happened, but Randy Orton RKOs The Miz. He was running rampant with them. Next up, we're going to roll right into the bad portion of the night. The first one I want to talk about is Fandango versus Curtis Axel. Again, two examples, much like Zack Ryder, of guys who were getting over and seemed that because they were getting over, they're being punished. Axel, finally, after years and years of toiling in the WWE, has found something that's catching on with the fans, and he's being relegated to basically jobber for the stars. Fandango breaks up with Rosa, goes back to his old fun Fandango music, and it barely makes a difference. The Fandango picks up the win. I don't know. It could have felt more important. They could use Axel a lot better. It just, to me, I didn't like it. I didn't like the match. Next up, again, another one. Ryback versus Adam Rose. Ryback's a guy they pushed too quickly and then figured unfortunately they had to back off of that push because there wasn't room at the top for him. However, once they did that, they harmed his character pretty bad to the point where he's just now starting to gain momentum back. You got a guy like Adam Rose who they could do so much more with, but they're not. They put together an okay, passable match. Ryback picks up the win, beats up a hot dog and a banana afterwards that were in Rose's group. Again, I'm not on the writing crew, so don't ask me why that happens, but I just... There's some times where I just look at the show and it makes me shake my head and wonder why something like this passes through Vince McMahon and makes it on television. Now, coming off of that, before my blood pressure rises too crazy high, let's go into the question of the week. Last week's question is, who do you think that Bray Wyatt's cryptic promos have been out about? We got some answers from our friends here before I get into mine. First is from my cousin John. I want to see Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas. The way Bray is talking, the words he is choosing fit Bo Dallas' character and demeanor. Breaking a Bo lever, but to establish being more than just a mouth on the mic and creating some legitimacy and a strength in his evil persona, he should step it down a notch from The Undertaker and face the Demon King. Lastly, give Wyatt a match with Sting and bring back the Brood. Next up is our friend Benjamin Me19. I'm not bothered by who Wyatt feuds with as long as three things happen. One, the feud is with a top-level star, Orton, Cena, Bryan, Rollins, Lesnar. The feud makes Wyatt look strong. Wyatt goes over at a major pay-per-view. I think Wyatt's recent losing streak at pay-per-view is starting to hurt his star power. It's time for someone else to do him the favors. Next up is our friend Dizzlepup. It has to be a big fish. I'd like to see him go after Orton or Rollins, whoever is champ after Extreme Rules. Bray has to win this feud as he has been shat on twice in his feuds with Taker and Cena. I think fans would find it more palatable for him to go after the title than what they did for Reigns. However, it wouldn't surprise me if Kane left the Authority, became Demon Kane again, and he ended up feuding with Bray and jobbing to win. Whoever it is, it has to be big, and he has to win, in my opinion. Next up's from Joseph Hatcher. Well, I would like to see a dream match I've always had since he showed up. It's kind of a long shot for Bray Wyatt versus Raven. I think it would be a good match, and imagine the mind games they could have. Also, Bray Wyatt versus Gangrel or Bray Wyatt versus the Boogeyman would be cool. Next up from our friend Steve Tatnani. It's a very interesting question. I think Bray Wyatt's next opponent or feud should be with Chris Jericho. Wyatt needs to be established as a top heel, and what better opponent for him than Jericho? I say this for three reasons. It brings Jericho back on television, Jericho is willing to help put young guys over, and the promos those two would cut would be amazing. Last but not least, our friend Sonny the Green Orc. On WWE.com, they hinted a couple people for Bray to fight, and the only good suggestion, in my opinion, was Triple H. We got a little bit of all around the board. A couple people wanted to be a top-level guy, a couple people going with someone like a Raven, or the Boogeyman, or Gangrel and the Brood, kind of with the vibe of what Bray Wyatt does. I'd like to see him go in a feud with someone up in the higher echelon of the company. A Bray Wyatt versus... I mean, it's hard to say, and I'd like to see him feud with Ziggler, but I think both of them need a win in a feud right now. That would be my first choice. I think they could do awesome matches. I think the differences in styles would make great matches. Bray Wyatt versus Daniel Bryan. I don't think it was great the first time around, so I don't know if it would maybe, how it would work out the second time. Bray Wyatt versus Roman Reigns would be very intriguing to me. Help get Roman to that main event level while also bringing Bray up, and maybe Bray could even beat Roman, which sets Roman on a more violent streak, maybe. Who knows? But I would say I would pick Ziggler. I know it's going to end up being someone silly and someone that's not going to be worth us looking. I mean, they seem to want to use all of Bray Wyatt's good, but then when it comes time for Bray Wyatt to move up a notch, they seem to just put that glass ceiling right there for him to butt up against. Now, coming off of that, we're going to go into our question of the week from this week. It's a very similar question. John Cena has been having what he's calling the U.S. title open, where basically it's an open fight to any wrestler to come out and challenge for the U.S. Championship. Question is, for this week, who do you think would be the most fun person to answer the question? Now, it doesn't have to be a great scientific match. You could say the Brooklyn Brawler or the Gobbledygooker if you think that would be fun. Or if you think something fun like Shawn Michaels or Shinsuke Nakamura or Samoa Joe would make a fun match because you're wanting to see something on that route. It doesn't matter what you consider fun and what you consider entertaining. Who do you think would make a fun match with John Cena during this U.S. Open Challenge? Let us know what you think. Hit us up on Facebook. Hit us up on Twitter. Put it down where? Down there in the comments. Now, finally, we're going to roll into the good section of the night, the stuff I really dug on the show. First thing I really dug was the opening promos with Orton and Rollins. Kind of laid the groundwork for everything that went on after. You seen Rollins or Orton say he's going to RKO everybody, and like I said earlier, he did. He got Heath Slater at a different time. He had some more that we're going to talk about in a bit. Last being Rollins, which was a good opener. Again, I've said it before, I've said it a million times, so you guys know I'm not a fan of these openers. I do like the fresh meat, and I do like these two guys doing it. I think a focused and determined Randy Orton is the best wrestler in the world, period. Now, how long he stays focused and determined has always been Randy's problem. You could tell when Randy Orton is into doing something and interested in being the best, and you could tell when Randy Orton is mailing it in. It's two totally different wrestlers. When Randy Orton's focused on top of his game, he's as good as anybody that's ever stepped in the wrestling ring. When he's not, he's just not on that level. Unfortunately, we see that a lot. His current run seems to have him back where he's focused and wanting to prove who he is and what he's about. Hopefully he stays that way. Hopefully he turns a new page. I'm a huge Randy Orton fan. I like Seth Rollins as well. But I enjoy Randy focused and determined and kicking ass, which he has been lately. Next up, we have the Lucha Dragons versus New Day for the #1 contender for the tag team titles. New Day picks up the win, surprisingly, with Xavier Woods hiding under the ring and holding Sin Cara from getting back in the ring, thus causing a countout. We see more and more heel actions from New Day, which I only think is going to improve these guys. Like I said, I'd love to see New Day come out and really, really do something. I like all three of the guys. I think they all got a passion and a drive, and they all got a little bit something different to bring. I really am 100% behind the Lucha Dragons, and what they're doing on the main roster is just blowing my mind. In no way, shape, or form did I think they were going to be as good as they are once they came to Raw. And that was based off of what I seen in NXT. they've improved. The bigger the stage has been, the more that they're improving. And kudos to them, hats off to them. They've made me a fan. I'm a Lucha Dragons fan going forward. We see after the match, the Viper strikes, we get another RKO. Again, constant theme of the night. Next up, we have Triple H coming out talking about Tough Enough, which brings out Kane and Rollins, which leads us to possibly Demon King coming back. We're seeing more and more of that coming out. Maybe some rifts within the Authority. Maybe we're going to see the end of the Authority, which I think should definitely end its run its course. We need a new faction maybe, or a new alliance, and I think it'd just be fun about time. It's been over a year. Most factions don't last that long. Most Authority figures don't get that much time. Get Steph and Triple H off of TV, maybe have another commissioner go forward. You could always bring it back to that, but I'd like to see it end, and I'd like to see the cracks in it. Next up, we have a promo with Roman Reigns, which brings out Bo Dallas, sporting the Bo goatee, looking cool as hell. Bo tries to make Roman into a Bo lever, ends up getting punched and speared for his efforts. Just a fun, cool little segment. This is how you build up Roman Reigns. Stuff like this is going to make Roman Reigns more and more palatable for us wrestling fans to get behind him. The only reason why people didn't get behind Roman Reigns for WrestleMania is it was too much too soon. It's not that he's not talented. It's not that he doesn't have all the potential in the world. I think Roman Reigns has the potential to be one of the greats of all time. He just hasn't reached that potential yet. Stuff like this and showing different sides of Roman is going to get him there. And I enjoyed this. I thoroughly loved it. I like seeing Bo Dallas on our TV. I need to see more of Bo. I think he's awesome. I think Roman's getting there. This is helping him out a lot. Next up, we have the aforementioned John Cena Open Challenge. Brings out the Demon Kane. Cena seems to be scared. Kane puts on a hell of a fight. Of course, Cena wins. Why doesn't Cena win? Great match. Again, seeing more and more of the Demon Kane coming back. And I hate that I have to say that. I hate that there's the Demon Kane and the Corporate Kane. It's just fucking Kane. The Corporate Kane is not him. It's not the Kane that we know and love. It's not what any wrestling fan wants to see. We want to see the demon version of Kane. Period. Let him go out there and be evil Kane. Let him be funny Kane when he's face. We don't need corporate. We don't need demon. We just need Kane. Next up, the aforementioned Bray Wyatt promo, which we've already discussed how good and awesome they are. And last but not least, the main event of the night, Dolph Ziggler versus Seth Rollins. Ziggler loses when Sheamus distracts him. We have Triple H and Kane coming down. The cage starts coming down on the ring, which brings down, as it's going down, the Viper slides in, and we get an amazing RKO. He gets Seth Rollins on the top rope, bounces him off. Seth flies high in the air, comes down with an RKO. Randy's looking tall to end the show. Again, like I said, mentioned earlier, focused, determined, wanting to show the world he's the best. Randy Orton is the man. Him and Seth Rollins, I could watch them wrestle all 3 hours of Raw every week for 3 months in a row and not be bored, because these guys know how to keep you interested and know what to do, how to move, and make it look different every time they go out there. Plus, they're coming out up with some of the most interesting and phenomenal ways to get to the RKO. Kudos to both of them. If this was the old days of pay-per-view, I would have said this would have helped sell the pay-per-view. Maybe it's helping to sell some network subscriptions. But kudos to both of them. Great way to go off the show on the go-home show for Extreme Rules. Now, coming off of that, we're going to roll right into our ratings. We have a 1 to 5 scale here. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. 1 is a Heath Slater, 2 is a Curtis Axel, 3 is a Stardust, 4 is a Cesaro, 5 is a Daniel Bryan. I'm going to give the show a 3, a Stardust. A lot of good, a lot of positive moving forward. A lot of stuff that made me shake my head and question why are they doing this as well. Fandango and Axel, Ryback and Rose, Miz and Mizdow feud, to name a few. But again, like I said, a great looking RKO. Lucha Dragons turning me into an absolute fan. Randy Orton on top of his game. So I'd say right there, a middle of the road Raw. Not totally horrible, not totally great. Definitely one that was somewhat fun to watch and interesting for all of us. But basically, that's all I have to say about that. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Heel Heat.